The Doe Fund is a nonprofit organization in New York City that offers services for the formerly incarcerated. They have day labor programs for men that just returned to society or people that live in low-income communities. The Doe Fund provides opportunities for men and women to earn a legitimate wage despite their past criminal history. The positions vary, but the engine that keeps the Doe Fund running are their laborers, the street crews that sweep the streets, do the sanitation in office buildings. Their labor support the big corporate contracts that the Doe Fund bids for. The Doe Fund receives $36.5 million annually from the city to employ/house the formerly incarcerated. Some community advocates believe that the Doe Fund has forfeited that city contract. The Doe Fund provides shelter for the homeless. Known to date, the Doe Fund has 2 housing facilities, the Gates and Porter Ave facilities. For formerly incarcerated men and women coming home from prison, shelter is essential. When people are released from prison, many do not have places to live or call home, and providing shelter services is crucial to the formerly incarcerated. This is a necessary and valued service to such a vulnerable population and to the community as well. Having a safe and clean place to rest your head at night is a lifeline for the returning citizens with virtually no tangible or significant resources. However, what makes this story predatory is the Doe Fund charged their homeless laborers room and board while simultaneously receiving funding from the Department of Homeless Services. The Doe Fund receives $36.5 million annually from the city to employ/house the formerly incarcerated. The Doe Fund provides food, shelter, and security services at their facilities. However, their working staff are made to pay rent at their shelters. In an article titled "Queens Lawmaker Calls Out Homeless Shelters for Charging Residents Rent" by Dennis Slattery of the Daily News describes the practice and names the Doe Fund for their involvement. By doing this, the Doe Fund receives payment for rent from the government, taxpayers, and from the homeless that they employ.
Out of 184 to 124 comes out for the program fee, the 32 comes out for your mandatory layaways, and then that leaves you $28.
Right.
So let me just, so I'm going to explain it to you a better way, just so you understand.
Every week, $156 is automatically coming out of whatever you do.
The first 18 hours of you working in the field, right, you don't count. Every hour after that goes into your pocket.
But what, explain to me when it doesn't even count. Tell me what does that mean?
Because it goes to the mandatory savings and program.
That's the 156.
The Doe Fund takes $124 every pay period of the resident's check for room and board before the resident/employee even receives payment for their work. They take another $32 every pay period for mandatory savings. They say it is safekeeping for the working homeless and in their best interest, but the residents do not receive the interest on these savings. The $32 per week savings is returned to the employee once the program is completed, but not the room and board fees, virtually trapping their homeless laborers into prolonged years of servitude. What is the cost of a day's legitimate work? The homeless employee for the Doe Fund cannot save any significant amount because of this tyrannical tariff. This is a draconian tax. Is it because many of the men that seek assistance from the Doe Fund are returning from prison? With very little political influence or representation, the former prisoners are subject to both legal and illegal discrimination. Here it seems that the discrimination is just a part of the process at the Doe Fund for being vulnerable, homeless, and formerly incarcerated, and for working for the Doe Fund.
I feel like it's oppressive.
What are you doing?
Because it's kind of going back. taking out rent money.
First of all, believe it or not, it might say room and board has nothing to do with room and board. That's why you guys are able to take full advantage of all of the locations that we order. I got some guys taking forklift operator. Yep, let me finish, you asked me a question. Pest control, all of that is done by the Doe Fund. You guys pay not 1 cent towards any of those vocations.
All of that situation like that, well, obviously we are paying for it because if we not
But
paying
how
for
are you
room and
paying for
board,
it? You're not even doing the program anymore.
all right, but when I was doing the program, they was taking out $125 per week.
100%.
You know what I mean? For what they said was room and board.
Gotcha.
Now, if I'm not doing the program no more and I'm not gonna be getting those locations, then shouldn't I get that money back?
No, not at all. Come in. Come in.
So,
I'm in a meeting right now. I got you. Go ahead.
so, like I said, you know, that seems oppressive and it seems to be, kind of defeating the purpose for the client.
This tactic serves to leave the working homeless residents with scraps and dependent upon the Doe Fund for both housing and employment. Some advocates argue that the Doe Fund should lose the DHS contract that pays rent to the Doe Fund to house the homeless. They believe that the Doe Fund should lose any and all government contracts for their shady practices. They say that taxpayers deserve better. One former resident says, "This is how staff and other supervisors can get away with abuse, adverse treatment, sexual assault, and violence. This is how an organization intended to serve the community actually becomes predatory."
Because you got here at the wrong part. They took that thing and you fucked up, they fucked all that shit. What? You came in the fucked up place. You came in the wrong part of shit. Who was doing shit like that? All of you. All of you. Yeah, but anyway, don't spread that around. I'm not spreading nothing around. All of you, this ain't a nice place. This ain't a nice place. This ain't a nice place. This ain't a nice place.
Everybody. I told Terry earlier, no funny shit. I did it this morning. I'm like, Terry, stop talking like that. Like, we can get busy. We can get. Oh, how busy can we get? I fucked up. There's certain things you can't say to Terry. I walked in, all I heard was Terry say something to help. I walked back out. Walked back out. Yo, this is walking in today. Yeah, yo, boy.